Who am I? I'm a magic judge since 2013. I've been mainly using magic as a way to make money since like 2015. Um, I mean, until 2020 is questionable because, like, I haven't been making any money during the pandemic, which is not very good. But, anyways, in judging, I love investigations. I love reinventing the wheel, thinking about new solutions for problems that we already have a solution. And I am awkward sometimes, most times, all times. I am, well, since the pandemic hit, I started my own business. It's a dog hotel and daycare. And just this past weekend, we had our first few non or first few customer dogs. All the other dogs that were here were either mine or family dogs. Uh, and I love dogs. Dogs are great. So throughout this presentation, you're going to see dog pictures. They mean I'm taking a break to drink water, or I'm taking a break to see the chat or something. So you see a dog pic, wait like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, appreciate the pic and the cuteness of the dog, and we'll move along. Okay, now, in the spirit of this conference, I would like to say that you can help yourself by helping others. Um, Helping others makes us feel good and useful. Like in moments where, say, you are unemployed, say you have free time, like say you have spare time and like you have nothing else to do. Try to find like some NGO or some project to help other people. It will make you feel better. It will make you feel useful, and it's just good in general. And we also learn when we're teaching something to others. So if you take your time to mentor a judge, right? So nowadays there's pretty much nothing to gain, like in terms of material. There's nothing material to gain from mentoring a judge. Now, if you mentor someone, they are going to ask you questions. And you're going to look up the questions and you're going to learn. So when you're mentoring, when you're teaching, you're also learning. So if you want to improve yourself, you can also do that by helping others improve themselves. Okay, so this presentation is going to be highly interactive, and I put on Discord on pinned messages the link to a Google folder which has all the images and the presentation that I'm using right now. So it would be best if you go over there, click the link, open up the folder, and you can navigate through the scenarios, because it would be much easier than looking at the screen. Because like in some scenarios, you're going to want to zoom in the image, and doing that in the Zoom screen is not really good for zooming. Lol. Okay, so what is card counting? Is it like doing very difficult mathematics, or just doing probabilistic and like tables and seeing like the probability of things to come up? No, it's not that. There's one thing that can screw us over pretty hard, which is Emrakul, that shuffles all the cards into the library. So, I mean, I'm just putting out there in the presentation, sometimes a card count, it's not going to be possible because of this. Um, okay, so I want everyone to do in your head the count, the expression 11 times 12. And can you please write out the answer in Discord? Or how you did it, rather. How do you thought of the answer? Cool. Nice. Okay. So there's at least 3 different answers that I see, and that's great because it'll illustrate my example really well. There's a lot of ways of doing math, right? There's a lot of ways of doing calculus. And I put it up here, just 2 examples, right? You do 12 times 10, and then the result plus 12. Or you do 11 times 12, 2 times 11, 22, 10 times 11, 110, add up 122, 32, I'm sorry. There's a lot of ways to do math. So similarly, there's going to be a lot of ways to count cards and to come up with the result. You can count them the table, you can subtract the cards like divination, fetch land, etc. There's a lot of ways of doing this. I am going to just show a procedural way that you don't have to follow, but like if you like formulas, so this is the step by step. Regardless, you have to ask players who was on the play and how many mulligans each player took. So you know the starting hand size of each player, right? And then you ask players if they remember what turn this is. Hopefully they remember. So the turn number is going to be N. And then count all cards in all zones except the library, which means cards in the battlefield, in hand, exile, and graveyard. They all the same, and like effects that draw a card, effects that put a card in the hand, effects that search for a card, they are all the same. So just count them together. And then take a note of all the cards that draw cards, mill cards, etc. And all the cards are going to be this number y. So like divination means y is 2. Divination and fetch land means y is 3. And then you have this formula for player in the play, the starting hand size plus the number of turns minus 1 plus the number of cards that add to the game is equal to the number of total cards that you count. And for the player on the draw, you just add one because they draw cards in their first turn. Okay, as I said, this is going to be highly interactive. So I'm going to need people to do scenarios. If you're selected, then please make sure you have access to the folder that I pinned, and that you open up your microphone if possible. Anyone wants to volunteer? The first one is really easy. So if you want to do a hard one, wait for the last two. Still waiting for volunteers to do the first scenario, counting cards.
I can do it.
Cool, thank you. So let's. This is the first scenario. I don't know if you can read the cards, or if you can go over like the folder. You can perhaps read from zooming in the image. So the relevant thing here is that Elvish Visionary draws a card when ETBs. And the player asks you, hey, Judge, did I play a land this turn?
Okay. Do you remember which turn are we?
I think it's turn 5.
Okay. Did you take any mulligans?
I did not.
Okay. Were you on the play or on the draw?
I was in the play.
The play, okay. I'm not sure, but I believe he didn't play a land.
Okay. So, do you want to count how many cards are in total in the play zones?
Yes, we have 5 cards on hand and 7 more cards on the battlefield, so that would account to 12.
Sure.
If he was on the play and they are on the 5th turn and counting the visionary draw, he would need to have this total 12 cards.
Okay.
So
So
the number of cards is correct, but I'm really not sure how can I assert that he played or not a land this turn. I know that the number of cards, I can of course rule out that he drew one extra card or something like this, but I'm not sure how can I be sure that he played the land or not.
okay, because maybe this player missed a land drop. Is that one thing, something that you're thinking about?
Yes.
Okay, so um, it's interesting to note that for Erika's disciple, the card on the right is a 4 drop. So it could have only been played last turn
Last turn.
because like the lands are untapped. So since this is already in play, the lands are untapped, then this turn a land drop hasn't been made.
Okay.
But in those cases, you can try to figure out what players have played uh, to determine whether or not a player played the land. So, like, sometimes, yes, you can figure out the turn that they are in, and that can give you, like, yes, turn 5, then 5 lands should be in play. Then you can ask them, hey, have you missed any land drops before this turn? And that can give you an idea of what to do. Okay, thank you. Let's go over the next scenario. Any volunteers? Okay. Popo had. I don't know your actual name, just your screen name. Do you wanna Avi? Okay. Thank you. Do you wanna unmute yourself?
Yeah, I can take a look.
Okay. So can you access the
Yes.
Google Drive? Okay. Take a look at scenario 2. You have this board, and you have this board. Oh, oops, too much. So you have this board, and you have this board, and this player, the player playing mono white, says, "Judge, judge, my opponent has too many permanents. This is unfair. I think my opponent's cheating because, like, look at me. I have only one permanent, like one creature, and my opponent has like lots of stuff. It feels
Okay.
like they drew too many cards."
So the first question is who is on the play and what turn is it?
Okay. I don't know what turn this is, but I was on the play.
This is the mono white player.
Yes.
Have you missed any land drops?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm just reading through the cards real quickly.
Sure, sure.
Okay, so we've got if it's turn. Okay, so my guess is it looks like the opponent has played. So life total 2020, 1919. Opponent went Flare Husk on turn 1, Constellation or Intrepid, whatever that card is called on the. I'm trying to
Bronze
flip through
Saber.
the cards. Your favorite Hoplite, and then hit back. So Hoplite turn 1, Flare Husk turn 1, Hoplite hits to 19, Flare Husk hits to 19, Bronze Sail. Looks like Phalanx Leader has put a counter on the favorite Hoplite, or okay, so it looks like they played the. So they are still at. They took 3. I guess for the mono red player, which
Yes.
which person are you in the life total? I assume you're the right one.
The mono red player is on the left.
The left. Okay. So I mean, if it's turn, my guess is that the mono white player is going into their turn 5 here. Is what it looks like.
Okay.
There have been 4 instances of combat damage. Well, no, it could be their turn 4 actually. No, it can't be their turn 4 because the mono red player has played 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, 2 drops, or the other way around. It looks like the 2 ones untapped, so they probably played it in the lightning strike on their turn. But so that would be they would have had 4 turns, and they would have drawn a card for each of them, so that would be 11 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, it looks. I assume that under the lightning strike, the pile of cards underneath the lightning strike is their deck, so that counts to 11.
It's empty. Yes.
I don't know how, if you have not taken any mulligans, how you have so few cards.
Oh, I took a mulligan.
Oh, okay. I thought I asked.
Mulligan to 6.
So 6, turn 5 should be 4 draws. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did you not draw off of your chosen by Heliod?
I mean, my opponent killed it. Should I have drawn? My opponent says I don't get to draw because they kill in response.
They killed in response. Yeah, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. You should still have. Oh no, yeah. It looks. I mean, the board state looks correct to me. I might be missing something, but it looks correct. Yeah. So you attacked with your phalanx person and your hoplite, and tried to favored by Heliod on the phalanx, and it got lightning strike in response. Is that right?
Yes.
And so
my opponent's not getting a DQ?
Not as far as I can tell. But if you would like a second opinion, I'm happy to get another judge to take a look. I'm sorry.
So lucky.
I don't know how's. I must be missing something though. I mean that's as far as I can tell that is what it is. But I am curious how is the mono red player at 15 if they should have only got hit? How did they go from 18? Or sorry, how did they go from 17? Oh no, never mind.
Yeah, it's 1 hit per 1, 2 hits for 2.
Yeah, but so they didn't mark it. Oh no, never mind. Yeah, okay. I got it. I was confused for a second. Okay, that's my answer.
So that's interesting that you went for the life total to count the number of turns. Most people usually go for like counting the cards and trying to figure out what turn it is based on the card count.
Well,
so like
I try to think about what people are actually doing on their turns, because I probably play a lot more Magic competitively than judge it at this point in my career, but I've found that if you actually look at the life pad and the events that happened in the game, it's a lot easier to reconstruct situations that could be confusing just from looking at cards alone.
Yeah, this is a great recommendation, and I feel like life pads are a very valuable resource that usually get overlooked because judges are not, I don't know if they are not used to life pads or but that's to try to see what happened and like how the life changed throughout the game is really good. It's really important. And from the life pads, you could have also concluded that the player didn't draw. No, Ordeal doesn't gain any life. Never mind. I was thinking about another card. Thank you for participating.
No problem. Thank you.
Do we have any questions so far on counting cards? Volunteer for the next scenario. The next one is a game of Vintage that I was playing on Magic Online. So the count is going to be correct, but I still think it's a nice board state for like people to look at and try to backtrack what happened throughout the game. So if anyone has familiarity with Vintage, it would be ideal someone that knows the cards to play the scenario. Maybe a volunteer that can play through the chat if they are not comfortable with opening up the microphone. Because I feel like I'm not getting volunteers. Okay, Joaquin, you're going to type. Cool. So scenarios, this one, it is really hard to see on the screen. So it'd be much better if you can open up the image on Google Drive. Cool. So if people want to try it out, um, try to answer if you can figure out what happened in this game. Like, how was turn 1, turn 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? It may sound impossible, but it is actually not. It is pretty doable. Or you don't have to figure out everything exactly, but have a general idea of how things played out. Cool. Okay, so note that Pitting Needle is naming Bazaar of Baghdad. And the one information that is given to you is that Pitting Needle was played on turn 1, and the Hogak player was on the play and played Bazaar on turn 1 and activated it the only time in the game. Okay. To make things more manageable, try to look back at this formula and try to figure out what are the numbers here. What are the starting hand, and all the other values. Yes. The See, this is interesting because from looking at this, you could theoretically figure out that one player did mulligan to 6. Opponent mulligan. So turn 1, we have 2 from Bazaar, or 2 extra from Bazaar. Stitcher suppliers that were in the graveyard were milled. The ones on the battlefield each milled 3 cards. So that's 2 plus 3 plus 3. That's 12. Sorry, 2 plus 3 plus 3. That's 8, right? And if you count all the cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the battlefield, 2 in the hand, 9 in the exile zone, and then 3 in the graveyard. That's a total of 20 cards. So if this player was on the play, they had 7 cards plus 5. This is turn 6. And the player on the draw had played a fetch land, played Ponder and Preordain, so that's 3. And they have 5 on the battlefield, 5 in the yard, 3 in exile, and 2 in hand, so that's a total of 15. Minus the 3, that means they should have 12, counting the hand plus the cards they drew. Since this is turn 6, they took a mulligan to 6 cards. And I mean, I know it looks pretty hard, but I think this is a nice scenario to illustrate that you can still count cards even though the board state looks messy. Yes. So anyone wants to try the last scenario? You can also participate through the chat if you want to type. It is pinned in the channel here. Cool. So, this player, they just untap for the turn, and they're claiming they have a bubble trigger to draw. And their opponent is like, no, I have a bubble trigger. You don't have a bubble trigger. It's is its player's upkeep. Blue, red. So I typed it in the important quote unquote cards for the scenario. Cool, nice question. That is two. A Monas Soskar Mage was put in the graveyard, and a Soskar Mage and a Scalding Tarn. My opponent, the player on Rakdos, was target of Thought Scour. Unholy Heat was cast by Ragavan. Yeah, it was cast by the opponent that took the card from Ragavan's ability. Yes, Ben Bobble. Okay, so since no mulligans. Okay, since I have like 1 minute left, I am going to wrap this up and give the solution. Thank you for participating, Kyle. I appreciate it very much, very much. Okay, so the first question to ask is if any player mulligan and who was on the play. Um, no player took a mulligan, and the player on blue-red was on the play. The Izzet player was on the play. This is Izzet player turn 3, and it's their upkeep. Mishra's Bubble each draws a card, so that's 2. Dragon Rage Surveil twice, so that's 2. Thought Scour is 1, and the Rag means 1. So that's a total of 6. And there's, am I? Yes. So there's 6 cards in the graveyard in hand, plus 8 in the graveyard. That means 14, and 14 minus 6 is 8. So they started with 7. They drew for their turn 2. They have not drawn for turn 3, and they don't have a bubble trigger because they already drew from the 2 bubbles. Thank you very much for participating. I know this last one was kind of rushy, um, and I appreciated everyone that volunteered to solve the scenarios.